the inspiration behind this project?
Thanks, Tony, for the introduction. So Revolution was born this year to essentially democratize architecture. There are two categories of our products. First is the pavilions that you see. One is by Zaha here, and which is a dining pavilion with this dining set. And Richard Gluckman did the model art pavilion over there. The pavilions are freestanding structures that can be put in your home or garden, indoor or outdoor pieces, and they serve various functions. One could be for meditation, one could be for dining, it could be a tea pavilion, and so on and so forth. The second salient point is obviously to describe the home or modular home concept. This is not a new concept. It's been done for many, many years. But upon my research, I realized that no one company was doing it in a very high impact design level. So I thought, hey, this is a niche that we would like to get involved in. FYI, my background is in real estate development, been doing towers for many, many years. But I wanted to do something in a more affordable level. So obviously, this is the max $480,000 for a pavilion. The average is about $150,000. For the home, the average is about $300,000, which if you think about it, it's still affordable, minus shipping and installation, of course, and can be shipped anywhere in the world. The ambition is to do branded homes, and I think of the architects as brands themselves. Marcel is a great brand in interior design, as is Zaha, as is my partners Fernando Romero there, who just made a talk, and so on and so forth. And to really bring it to the middle market, the middle segment, anywhere in the world.
And Marcel, I'm interested, genuinely interested in your involvement in this as a non-architect. I know you have certain opinions about not boxing yourself as an architect or a designer or a non-architect, but I like the idea of non-architects getting involved in architecture because I think there's a lack of inhibition maybe, and you have ideas and theories about outside and inside.
Yeah. For us, it's a great project. I mean, I love to do things I never did before. It sharpens the mind. It gives new opportunity, makes you think about all the things you already did in a different way. So this question was great for us, and we were happy to work together on it. So I wanted to do a house which really it's like how we work it. We go inside the house first. We want to live in that house, and so we have been thinking like how someone is going to experience that house in a tropical environment. And so instead of just drawing boxes and making nice studies from how a building looks from the outside, we really didn't even think about that. We really started inside the house. And so we understood that there is going to be always an area around. And so why don't we make the roof not 60 square meter, but way bigger? Because the roof is not the cost of the house. And so we extended the roof of the house maximally, like 200 square meter. And so suddenly you have a 200 meter house for the price of a 60 square meter house plus a bit.
Marcel, we were talking earlier, has interesting theories about architects and architecture, that architects, understandably, have perhaps become too obsessed with the sculptural form of a building and perhaps forget about the interior. So Marcel's project is very much about the inside. In a sense, it doesn't have an outside. And I think it's something that maybe comes from Corbusier, who was all about the shape, the form.
I mean, it's not meant critical, but somewhere, you know, the archetype of Le Corbusier, which he presented as the ultimate house, which is just glass walls and two slabs, you know, it does not have an interior. I mean, so the ultimate architect decides that there is no interior. And so architects have started to forget designing it for a big part. And there's lots of exceptions, of course, but it is a bit like that. That's why I have a job, right? I mean, it's like...
I mean, the way I see it is that all the design disciplines which create the phenomenal world we move through belong together. There's a single discourse governed by the dialectic of form and function. And so we address all those scales. Yes, I think there's a specialism for the interior because there you need more refinement. There's more attention to detail. It's a science in its own right by now. It has crystallized out the same as with products. And it's but we have a large company, so we can also endeavor to notch closer to the refinement of furniture and product designers as well. It's all one discourse, but then to really bring the product home, you need to have that specialist investment.
But this particular pavilion seems it's an interior as well as it doesn't have an exterior either. This is almost a similar concept to Marcel's, but it's interesting, the interior, it's a living piece of furniture in a sense.
Absolutely. I think it hovers nearly between furniture and building, an interior, if you like. It's a piece of enlarged garden furniture.
Yes.
And we always like to see even furnishings and furniture as a space-making substance.
Yes.
Because it creates a space, a constellation of bodies and people, an interaction scenario. That's what we're about. So the form for us is not an end in itself, but we do work through form, of course. That's the medium we manipulate. We manipulate form, but the intentionality is the social situations we're creating.
Yes. Marcel's also, you have it's not site-specific particularly, but you have a site in mind, which is the tropics. Patrick, do you have an ideal site where this would sit?
Oh, well, this is, for me, is Miami. I know a lot of these wonderful houses here, the beach fronts, the waterfronts. It is, one layer is missing, which is the shading element. So this is basically a shading pergola umbrella piece, more than anything. And I think it belongs into all the wonderful gardens here. And this is a parametric setup. So there's a degree of sophistication where we have a limited edition. We also have a volume edition, but we also can tailor this. There's a larger version of this because this is a network of relations.
It's a what, sorry?
A network of relations with a series of variables which can allow this to be tailored. The same with the table and furniture. And maybe, I don't know if it's of interest, what the sophistication here is, because for us, this is not only a product, but it's part of our research department. So we use these small projects in the art space in particular, and for us, the art world is a kind of research platform to experiment with new intelligence and processes, where we need also, investors and collaborators with conviction in the new and the innovative, and clients who want to be investing and help investing in something which isn't off the shelf, but has a series of important innovations. And then there was another sophistication, which is, it's quite a complex geometry, right? So we run another algorithm which optimizes for fabrication rationality. So here, very unusual, all the nodes are extrudable. There's a straight line network, so there's an underlining, let's say, optimization to fabrication. So that's why we managed to do that quite quickly, and we can be relatively competitive with the product. So these are the three, let's say, all based on our research department, which invests heavily into computational intelligence.
I think I understood that.
Spoken like a true mathematician.
I just thought it was a beautiful mushroom, but there's obviously more to it. It is a beautiful mushroom as well. And Marcel, you said earlier about this not wanting to be boxed as an architect or a designer, working within a gallery, selling through a gallery. That's something you have done before, you're comfortable with. As a designer, you feel it's a...
I mean, we make work. We make all kinds of different work because it is what logically comes out of me. And then I think it's logical that some things need other podiums than other things. We make very simple, useful objects where huge amounts are made. We make super special objects where only few are made. We make big things and small things. They need their own podium, they need their own conversation, they need their own context. And I'm fine working on all these things. And if they were all the same, why would I do them? I think it's so interesting that they are so different. I have to show up being a different designer every time. I think it is good for me to grow as a person, as a designer, to mirror myself in other situations. That's why it's interesting.
And as you know, Tony, as you mentioned earlier, we're collaborating with Wallpaper magazines to debut wallpaper curated homes. First time ever in history.
Yes.
Which when we talked about this a couple of months ago, we were both enamored by the idea. And we've curated and you've chosen 3 already, well-designed ones that we're going to announce sometime next year. So it was really a challenge of getting people like Marcel, who come from the interior design world, to do an architecture brief. And if you see his quotes, which was very much well-versed, he basically said, I am not an architect, I'm an interior designer, but I wanted to do something no architect can do. And his description of that was essentially mirrors what he just said, I think. And of course, working with guys like Patrick and Zaha, you just get this, I guess, this mathematical explanation he just get rendered there as really a masterpiece.
Yes.
Which I believe is really one of the jewels of Design Miami this season.
You are responsible for your development internally and not the client. So I think for a client, this is just a true sculpture in the garden, which has the ability to really connect to really invite guests into, not only to look at. So it's the coolest sculpture you can have, because you really can interact with it.
I agree with that. So there will be different perspectives on this, and but you need to have that element of a heightened perception of its cultural status, and that is sometimes mystified, and sometimes there's an explanation which demystifies it and makes it legitimate. But whatever it is out there as a special creation of the 21st century plus.
I like that. Robbie?
I guess if you think about a lot of sculptors, I mean, Anish Kapoor's major sculpture in Chicago has been a major congregation point for all tourists who come to Chicago. Sure. And I can give many, many examples of Koons and so on and so forth in the art world. But in the architecture world, these are things you can actually have in your domicile and make them really recreational, congregational places for your friends and family.
And can you talk a little bit more about some of the other ones that are bubbling under in the Gluckman?
Sure. The website has launched maybe a dozen artists and architects. So this would ranging from Lenny Kravitz with Marmol Rasner. Marmol Rasner has done over $1 million homes. Marmol Rasner.
Oh, yeah.
Over a dozen of these customizable homes. But the brief I gave them was doing something at a quarter of that. So we're basically prototyping right now a home, Kravitz design, interior, Marmol Rasner, architecture at about $250,000, $300,000. Again, the goal was to really have a broad market here. Marcel's home is being fabricated right now. We'll probably show this during Salone, so please watch out for that. We're doing a larger edition with Patrick and Zaha for this as well. And
so a larger one, but following this model?
Yes, a smaller edition, a larger piece of this.
Form.
And that would be, that's being fabricated very soon and can be customized based on orders as well. And a few other pavilions which you can see in the brochure and the website. I'm equally passionate with art and architecture and design, and to really work with the world's best architects is something I'm very proud of and I feel a privilege. But more importantly, I wanted to give it to the consumers. Because it's very, very hard to sort of just knock on your door and tell Patrick and Zaha to design me a house. It may be, they'll probably cost you 10 million.
Yeah.
The point is not that.
Yes.
It's the complete antithesis of that. We want to provide something at a much shorter amount of time, probably a quarter of your time, at a tenth of the price. That's the value proposition of the company. So these are very, very detailed people watching all the details, just so that to ensure the quality is really there. Marcel and I just spent some time last week in New York talking about this project again. So we're always communicating to ensure that the quality is of utmost standards.
And the brief to particular architects or designers, is it an open brief or do you have a specific... So the dining pavilion, was that your concept? So you give an open brief?
The pavilions are a little bit easier than the homes, quite frankly, right? I mean, they're freestanding forms. What happened with me and Patrick and Zaha is that literally over dinner, I said, let's do a pavilion for Miami, and then, okay. And 2 days after, I gave them a sort of a set of different functions. Patrick and Zaha said, let's do the dining one, and then this sort of was born. Because they wanted to do an entire set, right? So they thought it was functional. He was thinking for Miami, There are a lot of outdoor places here. So the entire concept was sort of brainstormed together.
Robbie, the next stage for these, you have this plan of 40, and it's artists are going to be the next realm of people you are going to be working with. Beyond that, are there other grander ideas where this could go, where it could end?
We've signed up a few fashion designers. So that my background has been also doing a lot of these towers. I've done towers, interior design by Armani, by Versace, first Missoni condo in the world. So that's very close to my heart. And I've done all these sort of luxury buildings, but I started thinking to myself, there's nothing portable about this. I can't transport a tower, obviously. So I started investigating this prefab housing industry, which is a very fragmented industry. Europeans are pretty much catering to Europeans, Americans are catering to Americans, and Asians are catering to Asians. Very difficult to transport cross-border because of different permitting and so on and so forth. So, and that's really part of the brief. Marcel, make it, sure, appropriate and relevant to the resort market, but think of every deviation possible. So it's obviously much more challenging than sort of giving them a specific target market or a target country.
Have absolutely no doubt that it will be successful. I think it's a genius concept, Robbie, and personally thrilled to be involved with it. Thank you, Marcel. Thank you, Patrick and Robbie.
Thank you.
And through this discussion, I've come up with the idea for the wallpaper one, actually, because we've been procrastinating. It's going to be the pavilion to help you cope with post-Miami Basel. It's going to be called the Rehab Prefab. I think it's going to be, that's going to be a sellout. You agree?
Sold out to everyone here.
Exactly. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you.